As I told you earlier, it is basically about project scheduling. Can you see the slide? Okay. Let me quickly show you what exactly we have to discuss in this module 4. So this is the module 4 syllabus, as you can see. The main topic is your network analysis. Ideally, it can take 7 classes. So network analysis, under which we will understand what is network modeling of a project, then activity on arc, that is AOA, versus activity on node, AON. These are kind of sign conventions that are used for network analysis of a project. Then we'll do some kind of quantitative calculation, some kind of computation, numerical calculations, which are called forward and backward pass computation of this network analysis. Then we'll identify something called critical paths, floats, slacks, things like that. So this is basically related with project scheduling. So here we are completely focusing on the time aspect. The time aspect of the project, which is considered as one of the constraints of the project, we already know. In the iron triangle, we have seen schedule, scope, and budget are the 3 main constraints. So this is one of the constraints, time or the schedule. So in this module, we are completely discussing on what are the means of keeping track of your progress of your project and how to best plan the various activities and how to expedite some activities which are lagging behind so that you can complete the project in time. Maybe you will be able to understand it. It's more relevant if you imagine some project which is having maybe more than 50, 60 activities or even more than that. If it is a small project of 3-4 activities, then maybe you may not find its relevance. So for complex projects or large projects which are having 50, 60 or even more than 100 activities which are to be completed to complete the whole project, right? And the interesting thing is that you can break up a project into various activities, right? You think of any project, you can suitably break them up to different activities, right? And after breaking them down, you'll find that there is a kind of interrelationship among those activities, right? Interrelationship means some kind of technical requirements or practical requirements which hold them together with some kind of precedence relationships, right? For example, let us take the case of building up a house as a project, right? So you are planning to build a house for your own use, and that is a project for you. You can break them down, the whole construction of the house as a project, into various activities or tasks, like maybe digging up the foundation, then doing the piling work, right? That cement and all that which you are filling in the foundation. So that piling work, then maybe the construction of the walls, then maybe giving the RCC structure, right? The roof. Then maybe the plastering, then not in that order I'm talking, but these are the activities. Maybe the fittings, the electrical and the water fittings, then maybe the plastering of the walls, then fitting the windows and doors, then plastering and whitewashing and things like that. So these are all the activities which typically a house needs to complete it, right? Now, if you'll analyze these activities carefully, you'll find there are some technical constraints which hold them in such an order that there is a precedence relationship which exist among them, right? For example, you cannot start the piling work until and unless the foundation has been dug up, right? Similarly, you cannot construct the walls, right? Brick walls until and unless the piling is over. You cannot construct the, you cannot go for the RCC work, right? The roof work until and unless the walls are complete. Similarly, you cannot do the plastering until and unless your electrical and these water supply pipes have been already fitted in the wall, right? Inside it, then you can go plaster. So there is a kind of relationship which are technically required, or which is a kind of constraint which make them to perform this task in order, right? At the same time, there is also some activities which you can do simultaneously. There is no such constraint, right? Suppose you can do the what I can give the example here. Suppose you can construct the walls. At the same time, you can prepare your doors and windows side by, right? They have no technical relationship, so that simultaneously you can construct them. The walls are being constructed at the same time you are preparing the doors and windows side by. Means both the tasks are happening together simultaneously, right? So similarly, in any project, you will see that there is some kind of precedence relationship which you have to obey, right? And there is also situations which allows you to do some activities in parallel simultaneously. So all these things make this network analysis a kind of very interesting tool or topic for the project managers. And speaking the practical aspect of that, it is useful. It is useful. It is not just for academic or bookish knowledge. The real project managers also make use of this kind of network analysis or project scheduling, maybe by various means. Maybe it is a small project by by just having a network diagram on the office, or maybe on the table, or maybe they are using some kind of software tool. If it is a complex one, there are softwares. Of course, the most popular is MS Project. You might have heard of this. Microsoft Project is a kind of add-ins in the Microsoft Excel. You can also explore a bit on that. So there are software which also helps for complex projects to give you the idea about this scheduling and where you are standing, in which activities you are lagging, and how to speed up or expedite these activities so that you to complete the project in time. Because we already have a lot of discussion on what happens if the project is not completed in time. There are a lot of consequences which are not in favor of the policymakers or the promoters. So they used to complete it in time, and for that you have to check, monitor the progress of it, and there are many decisions that has to be taken during the implementation. Of course, this network analysis or this project scheduling is a part of your activity which happens in the third stage of the project life cycle, isn't it? It is in the project implementation. So during the implementation, you may need this kind of tool, right, which is the project scheduling tool, and if you will not plan it properly, you can understand for a complex project having 100 or more than that activities, it will be a complete chaos that you cannot control the kind of things happening. So it is definitely a useful tool in the hand of the project manager to keep a track and have a kind of control over the various activities. So these things we will discuss. I hope it will be interesting. And as I said, this is the only numerical part of this subject. So there are some sign conventions, some calculation methods. So you have to be very careful to understand those things, because in the online class again, it may not be that clear to you, right? Okay, so starting with this some background of discussion on this. Am I audible to you? Am I audible? So network modeling of a project. As I said in the initial discussions, first of all, for any project, if you want to construct its network model or network analysis of that you want to conduct for project scheduling purpose, the first task is that you have to break down the whole project into some manageable tasks or units, right? That is called WBS that is work breakdown structure. So work breakdown structure is again another skilled word that again based on your knowledge and expertise on that project, you can break them down suitably. Why I'm saying it is a skilled work? Because here you need to be very judicious in breaking the activities into some discrete units of work, right? You just cannot combine two different nature of works into one task. Again, coming back to that house construction example, for example, digging up the foundation, it is a completely discrete pack of work, right? So it needs some excavation of the earth and moving out the earth out of that. So it is a completely different kind. You cannot mix that with some other task, right? So that is the meaning of work breakdown structure. So be it a establishment of a industry or any kind of power plant or a any project you talk about, you have to break them into some manageable work packages, right? And the packages should be as much discrete as possible. There should not be any kind of overlapping in the nature of the work, in the expertise or the machines or tools which are used in that. For example, plastering of the wall. It is a completely different package. You should not merge it with some other task which needs some other expertise or some other skills or materials or machines, etc. So that's why I say one has to very carefully break down the whole project into some manageable tasks. And these are the various activities. We call them as activities in the language of this project, scheduling, right? But it started from the work breakdown structure, WBS. So it breaks large projects into manageable units, right? So total projects, sub projects, milestones, completion of, okay, milestone is just a kind of your milestone you are setting in your goal towards the completion of the project, right? So something like suppose you have completed a big task out of whole project, so that can be a milestone for you. Completion of an important set of work packages. For example, completion of all the RCC works is a kind of milestone. You don't have any other RCC work left, right? So you have completed a milestone. Or completion of all the brick works. There is no more brick work is required in that project, right? So all the walls and everything is finished. So it may be a milestone. It's a kind of notion that you are setting for yourself that okay, I have reached this milestone. Otherwise, it does not have any kind of more relevance in case of project scheduling. It is just maybe giving you a kind of mental satisfaction, or maybe you will move out some of the equipments or machines which you may not need now because you have reached that kind of milestone. Major activities, work packages. So the work packages, as I am talking about, you are breaking down or dividing your whole project into some tasks or activities or work elements or whatever you call it, but they are discrete. They are completely separate kind of nature. There should not be any kind of overlapping, and you are breaking them down. So that will make you easy for future plannings. Plannings means resources that you use in those activities will be distinct. It will divide in that way, right? And it is also easy for you that you can subcontract or outsource certain tasks if you have properly broken down your complete project, right? So it will be easy for outsourcing also. See, in complex project, it's not necessary that all the activities that you are going to do, maybe some portion of the project task you may outsource, right? You may subcontract to some other party or client to carry it out. So it will be easy for you if you have properly divided your project into some divisions like this. So way of managing the project by breaking it down, help determine skills required and amount. That is what I said, right? So it will break down the work or the whole project into suitable packages. So it will help you to determine what is the kind of skill is required in that, what is the kind of machines, materials, which are, that is the resources. Communicate work that needs to be done, work sequences are, okay. Work sequences, the last point is the thing I discussed in the beginning, the precedence relationships, right? That is the work sequences, right? So it will break down the whole project into various activities which are very distinct and separable. So you can easily identify what is the sequence, right? So if it will overlap or kind of, if it will not make it distinct, then maybe it is not that vivid to understand what is the precedence relationship compared to a nicely WBS structure. So work sequences are identified and understood. So you will easily find, okay, first we'll go for digging for the foundation, then we'll go for this, then that. So the sequence will be very vivid and clear to you so that you can plan. You can plan the activities and you can schedule them properly. And that is the purpose of all this. Okay. Next slide. Yes. WBS, work breakdown structure. So it helps to identify all work need to be done, logically organize work so that it can be scheduled, assign work to, yes, this is another point I missed. So you have divided your whole project into various work packages or work elements or activities or tasks through the WBS process. Now, after dividing this, it will be also easy for you to assign the work packages to the team members. So you can easily divide, okay, this work package you people do. This is a team of 4 5 persons, depending on the size of the project, of course. So it is easy to assign, easy to monitor, easy to allocate resources, right? Easy to subcontract, outsource. So these are all the byproducts of this WBS. Identify resources needed, communicate what has to be done, right, regarding that particular work package or task. You can communicate easily what to be done, organize work using milestones. Okay, again, another slide on WBS. So it break work into independent work packages that can be sequenced, assigned, scheduled, and monitored, right? So I already told you what is the advantage of breaking the project into small work packages. So it will become independent work package, right? So easily it can be handled, right? Because it is of some distinct nature, right? So it can be, as I said, it can be outsourced to some other company, or it can be easily assigned and scheduled, and it can be sequenced also. Sequence, you can find the precedence relationships. What work to be completed before that, what work to follow that, so all these things. Define the work package at the appropriate level of detail. So again, when you are breaking it down, so the work package or the activity that are calling, you have to give the detail of that. What exactly is to be done in that work package in some detail, right? For example, plastering of the walls. So some detail, what thickness of plastering, what material or what composition or what ratio of your cement, sand, and all these things. So that is related to that work package, which is activity. Some details so that if you are, even if you are subcontracting it, so the specification will be clear. Integrate the work package into a total system. So when all the work packages are integrated, of course, that is your whole project. So present in a format easily communicated to people. Each work package must have a deliverable and a time for, okay, this is interesting. See, now you have divided the whole project into various activities, right? So now you have to also set to complete this particular small work package or activity or task. Again, you have to decide what time it will take. So this is a prerequisite. If you are not able to do that, you cannot go for the project scheduling or the network modeling or analysis. Right? You have to estimate, although it may not be exact, it is very difficult to find the exact time for an activity. You cannot say what is the exact time it will take to complete the foundation work. It is very difficult to say exact. There are many uncertainties involved in the activity. But you will try to give as close as possible, means using your own estimates or experience, etc. There are various means of finding these things like work study, time study. They used to be applied in these kind of processes. There are some historic data that this kind of work used to take this many times, this many days. So based on some kind of input, you have to ascertain what is the time for these activities. Otherwise, it is prerequisite, as I said, you cannot go for the project scheduling activities. If you do not know what exactly this activity time takes, then how you will plan it, right? Everything will be stopped there itself. So that point, the last one point, the present in a format easily communicated to people. Each work package must have a deliverable similar to a project. We already know what is the deliverable of a project. So at the end of the project, there must be some deliverable. It can be a physical product, it can be a result, or it can be some service. These are the three deliverables we used to talk about a project. So even for an activity which is a part of a small part of that project must have a deliverable, right? At the end of that activity, you can say, okay, this thing is done, right? This physical product is produced, right? So some task is completed. So that is the deliverable, but it must have a time for completing that deliverable. It's not that there is no time limit. You go on and digging the foundation. Then we are doing something else. It's not under the purview of a project. We are doing some kind of experiment. You are just making fun of your own work. So technically, it must have a time frame. It must have a time that this activity will be completed within this time. Then only all the activities will have some time, estimated time. Of course, I'm using time, estimated time, which is kind of approximate, right? Because it's very difficult to give a certain time. Of course, there is a method which take care of this kind of uncertainties in time. We will discuss that in later. That will come under something called PERT, right? PERT. So at that time, we understand that how you are giving different times for the same activity just to accommodate these kind of uncertainties in the activity times. Okay, so anyway, so some time you have to attach, whether it is certain or uncertain, whether it is kind of deterministic or probabilistic, but a time you have to attach with the activity to make it a part of your network analysis. Verify the work packages will meet the goals and objectives of the project. Of course, a work breakdown structure is a hierarchical from general to specific tree structure of deliverables and tasks that need to be performed to complete a project. Right? So, in a typical complex project, it will break down the whole projects into small activities or tasks or work structures. You'll find it will look like a tree, a kind of hierarchical structure. I'll show you a typical figure for a work breakdown structure of a project example. So we'll break down all the works, right? And there will be some precedent relationships that you have to identify later on. The work breakdown structure is the foundation for effective project planning, costing, and management. Right? So this is considered as the foundation or a very prerequisite for conducting all these project scheduling and planning, etc. Because you cannot complete the project in a considering that as a single activity, right? It is not advisable to consider the whole project as a single activity. It is not possible. Even you think of your own experience from your day-to-day life. You may be unknowingly carrying on some projects, right? We all do that, but that whole project we break them down into small activities, maybe unknowingly, right? So we try to complete those activities one after the other. Again, there are some precedence relationships. Suppose you have to first fill up the form, then you have to do that, then you have to report there. So these are all kind of activities which completes a project. Suppose you are your project is to get admission in an institution, right? University, right? It passes through various activities. So if you combine all these activities, you can say the project is completed and the result is you got the admission. But all these activities has got some precedence relationships, right? First you have to fill the forms, then maybe the university will send the mail to your referee. You have to contact the referee. The referee will give the recommendation. So these are all linked in the kind of there is a precedence relation. You cannot break these precedence relationships. Right. Similarly, in all the work breakdown structures, you will find that there is a kind of precedence relationships which you have to obey, you have to follow because of technical limitations. It has to be followed. At the same time, these activities which you have broken down in the whole project helps us for proper planning, for proper scheduling and all that, right? So this WBS is the most important aspect in setting up a project. It is the foundation on which everything else builds. Okay, let us accept this. Okay, so this is maybe some example of a project, some example project, ILW project. I do not know exactly what project is. Just I wanted to show you that how the initially before going for the planning and project scheduling, etc., how the project has been broken down into various tasks. Even there are some numbers you can find. Those numbers are maybe used by that company itself for its own understanding. It is their own sign convention. You cannot decode it. But the thing you can understand here is that they have broken down the project into various main headings like research and development, engineering, design and manufacture, then something called shutdown, project management, recycling, installation preparation, erosion deposition of ILW. So under each of these, they have again broken down many activities. So B recycling, bulk W, diverter, W coatings. Each is having, you can see a code, a number, right? 1.1.4.0.0. So whenever they will pick up that code is an activity for them, right? It may have many details of that code in their system. So the specifications, the details as I'm saying, that for this code of activity, like 1.1.0.0.1, so what exactly it means, what has to be done, what is the deliverable, and what is the time frame. Most importantly, what is the time frame? What is the time it will take? Right. So this is something which is an example of a WBS. So be it any project, one can break down the activities, the whole project into various activities. So it facilitates strong management during project execution, cost and schedule control. Right. Lowest level of WBS is the work package. That is the smallest and distinct work content is work package. That is an activity. Work package can be clearly defined, allowing package to be cost, schedule, and resourced. Right. So, as I'm saying, once you have broken down all your activity, the smallest work content package is WP. We can understand to carry out this work package, what is the time schedule, what is the cost associated, and what is the resources that are to be used. WP contains a list of tasks to be performed that form the basis for the schedule. Right. So WP allows assignment of responsibility. You can assign these WPs or activities to various teams or managers, right? Work package managers. There is a designation you can see here. Work package manager is someone who is having the responsibility of completing a particular work package. Right? He will just focus on that part, that work package. Maybe in software programming, you can have a small module is given to you as a team of 5-6 persons. to just develop these kind of programs, right? There are many computer science and IT students are in this class, so I'm just thinking of examples like this. So in IT projects also, people used to work like this, as I'm told. So there will be a group of some people and some team manager or project manager, whatever designation you may have. So you will just assign that, okay, you will work on this module or kind of, that is nothing but a work package. Right? So you will work on that, and once it is done, you will hand over, okay, sir, ho gaya. So you will just run the program and show them, okay, if it is working, then they will integrate that to their main module. So this way, they share the work packages and carry out the activities and finally integrate them to make it a complete product, IT product. All right. Now let us understand about this network modeling of a project. That is the focus of this module. That how this network analysis or network modeling helps in the project scheduling actually. So the first prerequisite, as I said, we have to break down the whole project into some activities, which are work packages through this WBS. Now in the network modeling, a few things we have to use, right? There is the logical representations of scheduled project activities, right? Network modeling or network analysis is a kind of graphical tool, right? It is also associated with calculations, but it starts with a kind of graph, right? Many notations which are there in the graph theory of computer science are being used here, like the nodes, the arrows, and all that. So logical representations of scheduled project activities. So as I said, there is a kind of relationship, precedence relationships, right? You have broken down all the projects into some activities, right? So now you can represent the activities using some graphical means, maybe an arrow or maybe a node. There are two means of representing. I'll come to that later on. What are the two different sign conventions that are used? Sometimes the activity is denoted by an arrow. Sometimes the activity is denoted by a circle or a square, that is a node. So both means you can adapt. You have to be very careful again during the discussion of these two different approaches. Otherwise, there will be kind of hodgepodge in that sign convention. So I'll be very careful. I'm not delving into that now, but there must be some kind of logical representation. Means, as I said, that there is a precedence relationship between or among the activities. There is a precedence relationship. So we have to honor that. We have to obey that precedence relationship. So that is called logical representation, right? It is logical representation of scheduled project activities. Define the sequence of work in a project. Okay, drawn from left to right. So again, there are many sign conventions which are used in the network modeling. So one of them is you have to draw the network model always from left to right, right? You have to begin the activities from left, and the project completion will be reflected in the towards the right side. It is thankfully accepted by all, not from right. Some people may like from right to left. No, it is not universal. It is accepted. Even the software also use the same convention. It starts from left and moves towards right. Similarly, when you draw it manually also, the process will follow. That will start from left and will move towards the right. So right means project completion and left means project initiation, kind of, and starting of the activities. Reflect the chronological order of that. Of course, we are using time for each of the activities, right? So the chronological order of the activities will be reflected in. So you mention the time for each activity. So as the time passes, we'll move towards the right. WBS and network diagram. So what is WBS? You know by now. WBS is, what is WBS stands for? Who can tell me what is WBS? Hello. Very good. What's your name?
Web breakdown structure.
Yes. What's your name? I got two answers. Oh, Rohan. Yes, yes. Rohan Sahana. I must thank you because you are the only voice of this class. I must remember your name, Rohan Sahana. If possible, someday you meet me. Just a second, I'll take a call. Okay, so that is WBS and you answered it correctly. Rohan and someone also answered. I don't know his name. Okay, so let us stop here today. Okay, it's 9:50 and this project scheduling and all that things we can discuss in a fresh class. So again, I will remind you that tomorrow we'll have a quiz of 20 marks, right? 20, 20 marks, and it will start from 9 a.m. And I'll give you, I have planned the questions are so that you can, they are theoretical questions. So I'll give you the maximum time of 30 minutes, 30, right? So in same process, in the MS Team itself, you can answer, and I hope all the class would attend and appear in the quiz. Otherwise, there will be some problems for retest and all that issues. So there are only 62 students are in the class, but I hope in the quiz it will be 102 as usual. Okay, thank you then. Any questions? Do you have any questions regarding quiz or anything else? Okay,
No, sir.
then. Okay, good.